If I could go back in time and give my younger self advice, this is what I would say. Whether you're 15, 20, or 30, this advice can change your life. Let me explain. Welcome back to my channel. Let's make one thing clear here in the beginning. This video here is not for the average Joe. Nothing wrong with that. Quite the opposite. To each his own, to each her own. I'm a big believer in that. I want to today highlight how I live my life on my own terms. One of my subscribers sent me a DM a couple of months ago asking what advice I would give myself when I was 15 or 20 years old. And I started thinking about it and I was like, okay, actually that's a very good topic because these are the same principles I talk to my own kids about. I'm not here to tell you how to do your things, but if you're interested in knowing what principles I believe in and what is the roadmap I have painted for myself, then this video is for you. And these are, by the way, in no order. Doesn't mean that the first one is more important than the eighth one. There are 8 of these principles today, but let's get right to it and cover the first one first. There is no right or wrong. Despite of what the society is trying to tell you, starting with the teachers, your parents, that there's only one right answer to every question. I'm a big believer in understanding that there is no right or wrong. There's only what's right for you. Teachers at school are trying to tell you that there's only one right answer to every question. But life to me is all about understanding that there are 15 or 20 different ways how you can get to your final destination. And there's only one wrong answer, which is not to do anything. As I said, there's only right for you. Understanding what that is the starting point, the whole principle for these 8 core strategies or mantras or principles that I'm going to talk about today. People will try to tell you the right way all the time. That's what the society is all about because they try to mold you. But if you believe in your own cause, you believe that you have a direction, just stick to that. Go your own way. Nobody has all the answers. This is a big one. We are all clueless. You might think that your parents, whether they are 45, 50, or 60, they have the answers. No. Let me tell you something. Everybody is clueless. When I was 15 or 20 or 25, I thought that, okay, well, in 20 years or 30 years, I would have all the answers. I have so much experience and so much knowledge that, there's nothing to conquer anymore. Quite the opposite. I'm 48 today and I'm far from ready. And I'm perfectly fine with that. That's the way it should be. But understand this, there are 2 types of people at the end of the day. There are clueless winners, and there are clueless losers. And the biggest difference between those two is that the clueless winners, they always take action, regardless of the fact that they don't have a clue. Number 2, walk your own path. If the first step was about understanding that there is no right or wrong, that there's only what's right for you, then second step is much harder. It's about doing the very same thing. The younger you are, the more obligations you have, and the more difficult it is to follow your own path. When you're in high school, think about it. You're supposed to hang out with the cool crowd, listen to a certain type of music, wear certain clothes, etc. It's really hard. I've been there. I know that. But the sooner you learn that skill to live your own life, don't try to convince anybody else and have so much conviction that you don't need to really mind anybody else's business but your own, the better off you are. That's when life really starts. To me, no regrets. It's about falling on my own sword. If I look back and analyze certain things that went south or the things that I quote unquote regret after the fact, those are always those decisions or those instances when somebody else tried to convince me to do things their way and I fell for that. I wasn't strong enough to have enough conviction that I would say, well, this is my intuition. My gut tells me that I need to go and do this. Because later on, if I again look at those very same things or any other quote unquote mistakes in my life, I never regret anything if I get to do things my way because I follow my own energy and my own intuition. Number 3, travel and see the world. If I had to pick one of the 8, this probably would be the biggest one for me. And this particular topic changed my life when I was 19, when I first moved to the US for the first time without ever having been to the country or anything else. That particular decision was just huge for me. If I had to pick one single event in my life that changed my roadmap completely, that was one. Why is it so important? Because if we think about people, we are people of small circles. We have traditionally grown up in tribes of 150 people. If you think about it, look at your friends or your family members, their partner selection, or who they hang out with. It's either people from their workplace, from school, or from their hobbies. We go to the same grocery store, same workplace, drive home, we gravitate towards small circles. If you really want to get stuff done in life, you need to understand the big picture. This is really where it gets really, really important. And in order to do that, to understand that big picture, you need to be able to connect the dots and recognize patterns. And you won't be able to do that if you meet the same people every day, if you see the same circumstances, same behaviors, same weather, same everything. There is no change in your everyday life. You need to break free from that pattern. Get out of your comfort zone, literally. Travel, meet new people. There are 8 billion people on this planet. If we hang out with 50, 100, 150 on a daily basis, think how limited we are. This is hugely important. That's why I've spent so much money on traveling with my family members. I have lived in different countries with my kids, and I constantly encourage them to go study abroad, work abroad, do whatever you want, but see the world so that their eyes and their vision would not be closed or limited. It's all about that big picture. As I mentioned, my single biggest decision in my life was when I decided to move to the US when I was 19. I had never been to the country, spoke the language somewhat, but had no clue what to do. Just got out of my comfort zone, went there, and figured out a way to do things on my own without friends, siblings, parents, anybody. I had no internet, I had no cell phones. I had to figure shit out, so to say. And when you can overcome stuff like that, you feel unstoppable. You really need to try that. People worry so much about not being ready, not knowing what they're gonna be when they grow up. Whether you're 20, 25, or 35, it doesn't matter. Not knowing is perfectly okay. That's the point number 4. It's actually the way it should be. I'm 48. I didn't have a clue a year ago or 2 years ago what I was gonna do in 2 years. Now I have a vision, but that changes. Nothing is forever in life. But the only thing we need to worry about is that we ruthlessly go after our interests. Because when we follow our dreams and our interests, then we can really get good at something, which means skills. And then that can turn into our passion, and then over time, we can get the results that we need. No parent, sibling, grandparent should ever come and tell you what you should become. Yeah, your family might be full of doctors or lawyers, but it doesn't mean that you need to be one. If you want to become a florist, you want to become a truck driver, so be it, as long as you're happy. That's the bottom line. Not knowing is perfectly fine. Actually, that's the way it should be. Number 5, don't settle. This applies to people, businesses, work, everything in your life, because your intuition is always right. If I look at my own life, every single decision that I have made, whether I was in doubt at that time when I made the decision, I was like, okay, well, my gut really says this, but because of this and this logic, maybe I should actually go against my intuition. Then fast forward 5 years, and in hindsight, those decisions ended up being probably the worst decisions of my life. And those lessons have been so valuable to me, meaning that I now know that my intuition is always right. But then the key question is, okay, why is it that I wasn't able to always listen to my inner voice, that inner energy? It's because I wasn't self-aware. I didn't know myself. Because the answers are not at the surface. Sometimes they are so deep down there buried that you need to ask yourself 7 times why, so that you really get to the bottom of the problem, meaning you know yourself. And as I wrote here, self-awareness is always the first and the most important step. Related to this is the fact that all the answers are always in the mirror. Don't blame anybody else, because you're wasting your own energy. Rule number 1 as an entrepreneur is that it might not be my fault, but it's always my problem. If one of my people, one of my employees made a mistake, ultimately it's my problem. It doesn't matter who messed up. And some people think that when you are self-aware, when you understand that you can always find the answers in the mirror, that you're overly critical of yourself. To me, it's a completely different thing. It means that you're ultimately in control. You understand that it's yourself, it's you who's driving that car, not anybody else. I'm not blaming myself. It's actually a huge relief to me knowing that I can influence the outcome. I just focus on the inputs. First, I need to know myself, then I put in the hours, and I always get what I deserve. But don't settle. Always trust your gut. But you gotta know yourself first. Getting to the end of it, 3 more to go. Number 6, make time to think. Pay the world whatever it takes to leave you alone, to get some time to think. Think about it. True wealth is having the freedom to think and create. This goes heavily back to that talk that I've been having about creator time and manager time. I used to be one of those people who was like, fill up your calendar, bunch of meetings, check the pulse, set the deadline, ask people how they are doing, and be in control. That was the manager part of me. And I completely missed the whole creative side. So there are 2 things you need to understand. If you really want to make a difference in the world, you need to be able to be a manager and a creator. Somebody who reacts and somebody who's very proactive. Super important. You can't be proactive or creative if you don't have time to think. So make yourself some time. Buy yourself some time, because time is our most valuable resource. And not just the time itself, but the focus we get by having that time, if we know how to say no. So these are very critical things if you want to be professionally very efficient, get stuff done in life. Learn how to say no. Focus on one thing at a time, not 3 separate things, because that will not give you the results you so desperately want. I know that. Number 1, say no. Buy yourself time, then focus on one thing and get really good at it. That's the secret. Number 7, have values, have principles, believe in something, stand out, never blend in. This is one of the things that I talk to my own kids the most about. Wisdom is understanding the long-term consequences of your own actions. Think about it. Every decision that you make in life has a price. It always costs something. There's a trade-off. I keep telling my own kids that, look, you can do whatever you want. They're old enough to understand this. You can do whatever you want as long as you understand the big picture, able to connect the dots. Remember, from that traveling point, from here, travel and see the world, most important thing is to connect the dots, recognize patterns. You need to be able to be smart enough to see around the corner and understand that, okay, if I skip school, if I don't go to work, if I don't do this, it always has a price. Understand what that price is. And as long as you're willing to accept the consequences, go for it. That's fine. You can ask for my advice, and I'll tell you what the most likely outcome is. And then it's up to you. That's called learning. You make your own decisions in life and you deal with the consequences. But if you want to live your life like everybody else, don't expect different results. But if you want to live that 5% life or life on your own terms, you got to be different. You got to have values, somebody that you stand up for. And I'm all about being different. Don't blend in. Stand out always. Our last piece of advice on our list is number 8. Learn how to work hard so you can ultimately work smart. This is huge. There are plenty of people in life who keep talking about working smart. In other words, in my opinion, that's their way of telling you that there's a shortcut. Don't believe any of that bullshit. It's not possible. There is no way you go from 0 to working smart, because it always comes in this order: more, better, and new. The first order of business is always to multiply your volume by 10x. Ask yourself, what is it that works today and how I can make that 10 times better? How I can do 10 times more of what works today. That's the solution first. It's like that Olympic marathon run that I covered in my previous video. Everybody is so eager to get started or finish, like in entrepreneurship. Everybody wants to start that company or sell your asset and cash in, make all that money. But nobody's really interested in that boring middle. If you truly understand what making money or being successful or getting stuff done in life is all about, you need to understand, or you do understand, that it's all about that boring middle, that middle phase where that marathon runner, that winner gets decided. Not at the start and usually not at the finish line. But when the going gets tough, that person who has that big why, enough self-confidence, and is able to delay that gratification. Remember those 3 things that are common personality traits for people who get exceptional results. So that delayed gratification is the same as working hard. These people are able to put their head down, disconnect themselves from the outcome, and just keep grinding. So ultimately, yes, we want to work smart. We want to get the efficiencies and the productivity out of us. But there is no skipping that working hard part. Remember that. This is my list of 8 things that I wish I had heard when I was 20 years old. And these are the very same things that I talk to my kids about. Is there anything that you wish somebody had told you when you were 20 or 25 years old? Let me know. If this video resonated with you, if you liked it, please hit the like button and the subscribe button as well. I highly appreciate your time. I know it's your most valuable resource. Everything that you dedicate to me, your time and your effort, all your comments, highly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Again, I'll talk to you again next time, and thank you. Bye.